We're here to talk
Okay,
about in a cold vein.
sure,
This
sure.
is your film, which is getting its world premiere at FrightFest. I guess firstly, how are you feeling about the firstly getting selected, and then about the screening itself?
Yeah, it's an honor. I'm incredibly excited. I have a just fond love for the UK as a whole. Just being Canadian, we're kind of a lot of us are Anglophiles, and I just love being in London and for such a festival that again I haven't been yet, but everything I've read and seen, the fans just look really passionate, and which is something I love about the English British people. Just the passion. So yeah, I mean, it was an honor to be selected, and I'm honestly for the film to premiere there is yeah, it's a dream come true. I'm incredibly excited to share it with audiences that will I'm sure respond favorably to it.
And given that it's the world premiere, there's not necessarily a whole lot of information out there at the moment. So, how have you been pitching the film to people?
I guess it's for this is a very it's a very simple film. It is an assassination, a kidnapping assassination gone wrong, figuring out who did it, and then getting revenge. It's pretty linear as far as it goes, and it's tight. I mean, we start the movie, we're right in it. There's no buildup. We are in the shit. We are right in the thick of it with the main character. So I think it's a pretty fun but intense experience that I hope grips people from the first frame.
And people hear the name Fright Fest and they assume that this is going to be, 5 days of zombies and
Yes.
vampires and that sort of thing. But Fright Fest is actually, it's about embracing the dark heart of cinema, which I
Mhm.
think very much then opens up, the door for something like In a Cold Vein. How do you yourself kind of see it fitting in amongst the programming?
For sure. I think it's going to be something that's going to be, like you said, a little different than the zombies and the slashers, which I love. I love all those types of movies as well. But I think this, um, yeah, it's going to stand out for being different. But again, it all comes from the same intention, I think. And that's, I was asked before, like, why genre is such a good way to convey emotion or themes. And when you're dealing with genre, I love a great dramatic movie, but when the stakes are actual physical harm or death, I mean, it just makes the stakes that much greater. So um, you can convey a lot of ideas and themes and really get, the emotions hit even harder when, a breakup of a relationship is devastating. But if you couple that with the possibility of someone being physically hurt or killed, it just makes it that much greater.
And you have your lead character, Dean. He's a very complicated man.
Yeah.
But also he has to be able to do the physical side of, the getting the revenge. But then he also, through sort of like flashbacks and that, we see him at home with his family, and we see maybe more of his softer side. So that
Mhm.
must then make it quite challenging to then find the right actor to play that character, because you need somebody that can straddle both. What was it about Evan that spoke to you and made you think that he was right?
So yeah, absolutely. A very complicated character in that everyone in the movie, except for the kid, is essentially a bad guy. Everyone is kind of a villain. They're all right, but Dean is someone that we see his redeemable qualities, his love for his son. Evan, I didn't know Evan before shooting this, and I was just going through um, reels of actors that I thought were based in Austin, and it turns out he wasn't. But from what I saw from his previous work, I saw one clip of one scene he did in, I can't remember the movie, but I remember I saw it and I was like, oh my God, if I can get that guy. In that, because in that scene, he was a prison guard that was clearly the villain, but there was something that was still likable about him. So, and then once I reached out to him and then pitched him the script, and then we got to talking and seeing how enthusiastic he was and how he understood the character and what he thought it should be. I mean, it was a no-brainer. And it was actually very difficult to get Evan involved just because of where he lives and a whole bunch of other factors. Scheduling for this movie was a complete nightmare. So trying to fit it in with everyone to make it work was very complicated. And I'm so glad we did because I can't see anyone else having been Dean other than Evan.
And the film features a range of locations, starting like you said in the back of a van,
Mm,
before it then opens up to this wider world, and
mhm,
the main stories playing out at night.
mm.
I mean, that must have then presented a lot of challenges. How was the shoot?
I mean, incredibly rewarding, but almost impossible. If you think about, you know, kind of lower budget movies that are shot in 14 days, this was shot in 10. They're almost always, not always, but for the most part, a lot of single location or found footage. There are 10 locations in this movie. So we were moving around a lot and it was incredibly challenging. But with that, you know, there was so much preparation done ahead of time. And we really just had to get creative and figure out what's important, what do we need to get, how do we get it, and just everyone, the whole between me and the crew, and then the actors being on the same page, and just the fact that everyone was excited to be there and work on the film, that really helped. There was not like a bad apple in the bunch that was, half-assing it or on their phone. Everyone was excited to contribute, but yeah, moving from locations to locations was very difficult. And yeah, especially at night, like you said, there was nights where I'll tell you, the very first night we shot, it was the scene where they're in the van, the two guys. It's earlier in the movie where um, they try to take them to the first location, and the woman with the park rangers there, and then they had so we shot that first night. I remember driving home at 5 in the morning, thinking, "Oh my God, how are we going to do this? I don't know if it's possible to get this done in this amount of time." And then somehow we made it work. But yeah, it was tough, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And then you throw, a child actor into the mix as well, which comes with its own set of, rules and regulations and challenges, just
Yes,
it's a glutton for punishment almost.
very much so. I mean, the movie shouldn't have worked. And I remember months beforehand trying to schedule it. My wife was just noticing how stressed out I was because I was trying to line up again like a child actor. He's only available a certain time, and then my cinematographer, who's a very good friend of mine, just lining up. It was this puzzle that almost seemed like it was missing pieces that it would never be, or like pieces were cut off, so it was like never going to fit. But we made it happen, and I'll tell you, on the very last night of when we wrapped shooting, again 6 a.m. I had been up for 23 hours, and it was the Glass House, which is a beautiful place, but it was like an hour away from where I live, and I just cried on the way home, like joy and relief that it like happened.
And like that, I can't remember which day it is, but one of the 24 days, it just ends with Jack Bauer just like crying in his car
Yeah,
before then like
it's kind of like
moves
that.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. One of the elements that I really loved about the film is the score.
Mhm.
It's kind of it's almost always there in the background, creating this really unsettling feeling, even when, some of the stuff on screen isn't particularly,
Yes.
eerie.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about, your intention behind the music and how you went about creating it?
Yeah, the music for me is always the most fun part of the process in that in my band that I'm in, I am not the songwriter. So here and also with creating the music for film, there's no confines to song structure. So really watching the film and just frame by frame, what emotion am I trying to convey here? Really is something that I just love. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of tweaking sounds. But yeah, the general goal is I wanted people to feel unsettled, and I wanted the score to help push what we're seeing on screen and the emotions that are being conveyed with the actors even more. I want to just intensify it. So there wasn't any particular instrument or tone that I focused on. I'd say there wasn't necessarily a theme other than just what's gonna make the audience feel even more than they do. So yeah, I'm very I appreciate that you liked it. It's funny, we did a cast and crew screening here, just a private, just with the people in the film. And my wife, who's not a big genre film person, she almost had to leave the theater after she's like, your score is almost too much for me. It was just too intense. It was giving her anxiety, which is the point. So yeah.
Exactly. Well, it definitely works. And
Mm.
I guess sort of, as our time wraps up, my final question to you is, Fright Fest attendees are trying to figure out, what they're going to be watching and when. Why do you
Yes.
hope that they take a chance on In a Cold Vein?
I think that In a Cold Vein, I think a great comparison for me, In a Cold Vein has there's three acts with different subgenres, but there's like two tonal halves to me. The movie's intense and dark throughout, but the first half there's some comedic moments, that I think would make people laugh and enjoy themselves. And that kind of helps ease us into the second half, with which is just pretty dark and intense and often grim and grisly at times. So my pitch to them would be this is like a reverse Barbarian, where a thing loved about Barbarian is that the first half was so intense and creepy and unsettling, and then all of a sudden we cut to Justin Long, and while he's a terrible character, it's pretty funny and it kind of gives us a breath. So I would say it's kind of the reverse of that, where we're having these through some awful things that are happening. There's some lighter, not lighter because it's dark, but funnier moments that can kind of give the audience a breath before we get into the darker, grimmer, more grisly stuff. So yeah, reverse Barbarian is how I would like to pitch it.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for your time and best of luck with the screening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kat. Best of luck with the short film with your daughter.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe FrightFest 2026. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe I'll be in attendance. That'd be great.
Cool. Are you going to be there this year?
Oh, definitely. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm there for the full festival, so I'll catch you
Oh,
around.
I'd love to see you. And yeah, and see some of the podcast, some of the footage maybe you'll have been shot for the film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of the end of the holiday, so yeah, we probably will have to have something. I
Oh,
just, you can edit. I just bring it to you, and you can edit it for us. Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll do the score for you. I'll do it all.
There we go. It's on
Cool.
video.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna let you go, and
Okay.
yeah, I'll see you in about a month.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kat.